Before we explain how Hitler nearly became a femboy, viewers might be planning their own world domination, and this is where our sponsor, Conflict of Nations, peeks its cheeky head. Conflict of Nations is a free online PvP strategy game where players lead a real country in a simulated wartime setting, in which games can take weeks to finally find a conclusion. You and 128 players will need to build different units, forge alliances, and strategically murder your opposition as you engage in battles in an attempt to take over the world. We at the Swag News team are strategy game connoisseurs ourselves, so it's good to know that Conflict of Nations is playable on both PC and mobile. Viewers who click on the link below within the next 30 days will get a 30-day premium subscription, 13,000 gold, and will be taking their first steps to give their enemies the authentic Genghis Khan experience. Conflict of Nations, the only way New Zealand could ever hope to dominate the world. Viewers who have watched this channel for more than 2 minutes will probably know that I'm a huge fan of stupid plans that work, which you might recognize from every siege video I've ever made. This is why, in the same spirit, we've compiled the dumbest World War II strats we could find that were aimed to take down a very loud Austrian man with a very silly moustache. It's the middle of World War II. The British Secret Service was getting restless at a long and painful stalemate, and 1,000 ideas on how to kill Hitler were swirling around MI6 every day. Shooting him proved impossible with such a tight security force, and taste testers would make sure he wasn't about to be poisoned, but perhaps they didn't need to end his life at all. It was theorized that sneaking estrogen into his food would be nearly as good, as not only is it tasteless, but the results are slow acting, meaning his taste tester would be none the wiser, at least until the Führer started looking a whole lot curvier. The idea was not only would a noticeably more feminine Hitler look bad for his public image, but it was hoped that the process would throw off his hormones and cripple his ability to effectively run the country and fight a war. Because if there's one thing the world needed more, it was the most dangerous and evil man on earth becoming even more mentally unstable while fighting the largest war in human history. Ultimately, the plan wasn't put into practice, as it was determined by the 34th rule of the Allies' Code on International Conflict to be a breach of wartime ethics. Viewers who want to learn more about this code can Google Adolf Hitler, Rule 34. The D-Day landing was the largest seaborne invasion in history, but a huge question before its execution was where the German army expected the assault to take place. It was obvious the attack was going to come across the English Channel, but this doesn't exactly narrow it down. For the highest chance of success, Allied forces would need to be as uncontested as possible to properly establish themselves on the other side of the channel, and this would mean a distraction was in order. To do this, the Allies decided to make a shit ton of inflatable tanks, which might not be able to pass as deadly war machines up close, but to a reconnaissance pilot trying not to get shot down, they were as real as the day is long. Soldiers were tasked to man these tanks as if they were real. Tank tracks were created to add authenticity, and the tanks would be moved every day in order to sell the illusion. At this point in the war, Germany didn't have the ability to fly reconnaissance planes over most of England, so an effort was made to station these harmless dummy tanks where they knew German intelligence would be able to spot them. As General Patton was considered by Hitler to be the Allies' best general, it was decided that he would be put in charge of this bullshit landing force, which is about the best way to sell a group of 1,000 people trying to seem like more of a threat than the millions who are about to take an express trip to Normandy. Unfortunately for people at the time, the whole tank operation was classified until as recently as 1996, but viewers who want to learn more about this violent D-Day operation can Google "not safe for work, inflation." The authenticity of this next story is a topic of debate among historians, but it would be a crime to not give it a mention. In an effort to take the heat away from their important shit, German forces decided to set up a series of fake airfields around the continent, which were usually made of wood and always functionally fucking useless. The story goes that as one of these airfields had taken particularly long to construct, the Allies had caught onto its bullshit designs and devised a perfect form of retaliation. According to a Luftwaffe pilot at the base, on a fateful night in October 1942, an American aircraft flew over the installation and dropped between 6 to 10 wooden bombs with the words "Wood for Wood" written on the side. Although obviously being one of the greatest pranks of all time, it's impossible to know its level of authenticity. Americans at this time very rarely conducted air raids at night. British authorities deny any prank of this sort, and in 137 testimonials, only 2 of those interviewed claimed to have witnessed the dropping of the bombs themselves. It may be impossible to know whether or not this story is real or just an 80-year-old joke, but viewers who want to learn more about another deceptive tactic used by the German military can Google fake taxi. The year is 1943, and the British are planning an invasion of Sicily to gain a foothold in southern Europe. However, as you probably guessed, they didn't want Germany discovering their cheeky intentions. To throw them off, British intelligence took the body of a recently deceased homeless man and created an entire backstory around their needs. This corpse would now be known as Captain William Martin, a man with a rocky relationship with his father, a fictitious girlfriend named Pam, and a love for the London theatre scene. The corpse would then be loaded up with all the personal knickknacks this character might have on his body, as well as fake correspondence between 2 military generals, before being dumped just off the Spanish coast. The letter in question mentioned an impending invasion of Greece and Sardinia, while making the point that they would also throw a decoy assault at Sicily, which in reality was the main target of the invasion. Sure enough, the supposedly neutral Spain found the corpse with the letter and passed the information along to German authorities, who then shifted reinforcement to the areas not planned for an offensive. Of course, this is only a brief summary of the plan to spin a story of a corpse to fool German intelligence, so viewers who want to learn more about this operation can Google meat spin. We'd once again like to thank Conflict of Nations for sponsoring this video, and viewers who want to get a month of premium and 13,000 gold before they dominate the world can click on the link in the description. Roll the fucking outro.